Welcome to Pages from History, where the past reveals its most extraordinary secrets. Today we uncover a tale of ambition, conquest, and a curse that haunted an empire. This is the story of the cursed gold from the Americas and the Spanish conquistadors who paid the ultimate price. Stay with us until the end as we journey through this dark chapter of history. If you're fascinated by untold historical mysteries, support our channel by subscribing and sharing. Now, let us begin this extraordinary journey into the shadows of the Spanish Empire. First, the Golden Dream conquistadors and their ambitions. In the year 1519, Spanish ships appeared on the horizon of the Aztec Empire like harbingers of fate. Hernán Cortés and his conquistadors stepped onto unfamiliar shores, their armor gleaming under the tropical sun. The Spanish soldiers had crossed the vast Atlantic driven by tales of golden cities and unimaginable wealth. Their eyes burned with ambition as they marched inland, each step bringing them closer to their golden dream. The Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan rose before them like a vision from another world. Massive stone pyramids touched the sky, their surfaces adorned with gold that captured the morning light. Emperor Moctezuma received the strangers with ceremonial courtesy, offering gifts of golden ornaments and jade. The conquistadors accepted with trembling hands, their hearts pounding at the sight of such treasures. In the great temple chambers, priests guarded sacred golden idols representing ancient deities and cosmic forces. These artifacts had been crafted over centuries, each piece imbued with spiritual significance and ceremonial power. The Spanish soldiers saw only metal and wealth, blind to the cultural and religious meaning embedded in every ornament. Their Catholic faith taught them these were pagan objects, making their seizure seem righteous in their eyes. Francisco Pizarro followed Cortez's example, leading expeditions into the Inca Empire of South America. There he discovered even greater quantities of gold, rooms filled floor to ceiling with sacred objects. The Incan Emperor Atahualpa offered a ransom of gold to fill an entire room in exchange for his freedom. The Spanish accepted, watching as warriors brought golden plates, cups, and religious artifacts from across the empire. Indigenous artisans had created these treasures with reverence, each piece representing their connection to earth and sky. Now Spanish hands melted them down into bars, destroying centuries of cultural heritage for easier transport. Second, blood and treasure, the price of empire. The conquest of these golden lands came at a terrible cost measured in blood and suffering. Spanish weapons, steel swords, and gunpowder overwhelmed warriors who fought with obsidian blades and courage. Indigenous populations fell not only to violence, but to diseases the Europeans brought across the ocean. Smallpox, measles, and typhus swept through cities that had never known such plagues, killing millions. The conquistadors loaded their treasures onto pack animals, forcing surviving natives to serve as guides and carriers. Long caravans wound through mountain passes and jungle paths, transporting the wealth of empires toward coastal ports. In temples and palaces, Spanish soldiers pried golden masks from sacred walls and tore ornaments from ceremonial garments. Priests who tried to protect their holy objects were struck down, their blood staining the treasures they died defending. The gold represented more than wealth to the indigenous peoples. It symbolized the sun, divine power, and cosmic order. Every stolen artifact disrupted the spiritual balance they believed maintained harmony between humans and gods. As the Spanish packed their ships, native survivors gathered in the shadows, watching their civilization's heart being torn away. Old women whispered prayers and warnings, speaking of curses that would follow those who defiled the sacred. Shamans and priests who witnessed the sacrilege performed secret rituals, calling upon ancient powers for justice. They invoked the spirits of their ancestors and the forces of nature to punish those who committed such blasphemy. The conquistadors dismissed these ceremonies as primitive superstition, laughing at the natives' solemn warnings. They saw themselves as victors blessed by their Christian God, destined to bring civilization to savage lands. Spanish captains ordered the loading of massive quantities of gold into the holds of their ships. The vessels sat low in the water, weighted down with treasure as sailors prepared for the long voyage home. Third, the curse awakens dark omens and warnings. Strange occurrences began even before the ships departed from American shores laden with stolen gold. Sailors reported seeing shadows moving among the cargo holds where the golden treasures were stored in wooden chests. Several crew members fell ill with mysterious fevers that no ship's physician could diagnose or treat. They thrashed in their bunks, crying out about golden faces appearing in their dreams and voices in unknown languages. The night before departure, a violent storm struck the harbor though the sky had been clear at sunset. Lightning struck the main mast of the flagship carrying the greatest quantity of treasure, splitting it down to the deck. Native workers at the docks refused to help load the final shipments, speaking urgently of angry spirits. Spanish overseers had to use force and threats to make them approach the ships carrying the cursed cargo. Captain Diego de Alvarado noticed his compass spinning wildly whenever he stood near the treasure-filled cargo hold. His maps seemed to blur before his eyes, and he found himself unable to chart a steady course. Dreams plagued the conquistadors during their final nights on American soil before the journey home. They saw golden idols weeping tears of blood and heard drums echoing from empty temples in the darkness. One soldier claimed he saw an Aztec priest standing at the foot of his bed, pointing an accusing finger. When he lit a candle, the figure vanished, but the smell of copal incense lingered in the air. Another man woke screaming that golden serpents were coiling around his throat, though his companions saw nothing. His neck bore red marks as if from invisible hands, and he refused to go near the treasure hold again. The ship's priests performed multiple blessings, sprinkling holy water over the cargo and reciting prayers in Latin. But the sense of unease among the crew only grew stronger as the departure date approached. Fourth, ships of doom, the doomed voyages home. The fleet set sail on a calm morning, but by nightfall, an unnatural fog had descended upon the waters. Ships lost sight of each other though they sailed close together, separated by mist that seemed to pulse with green light. Within days, the strange illnesses that began on shore spread rapidly through the crews of multiple vessels. Men developed festering sores that wouldn't heal, and some went blind while others lost the ability to speak. The flagship carrying the greatest treasure encountered repeated disasters that defied all nautical experience and logic. Sails tore in gentle breezes, ropes snapped without strain, and fresh water in the barrels turned brackish and foul. Sailors reported hearing voices singing in the darkness, melodies in indigenous languages drifting across the waves. Some claimed to see ghostly figures standing on the water, watching the ships with eyes that glowed like embers. Captain Alvarado's condition deteriorated rapidly, his mind consumed by visions of burning cities and dying children. He would stand at the helm for hours, muttering about repaying a debt to gods he didn't believe in. One by one, ships began to vanish from the fleet, disappearing during the night without any distress signals. Search parties found only floating debris and sometimes a single golden coin drifting on the surface. The remaining vessels encountered a hurricane that seemed to chase them specifically, following unusual paths predicted by no sailor. Waves rose higher than the masts, and water that should have been blue appeared red in the lightning flashes. In the midst of the storm, a massive wave struck the flagship, breaking open the treasure hold. Golden artifacts spilled across the deck, and men who touched them reported feeling burning sensations despite the cold water. Some sailors, driven mad by fear and superstition, began throwing treasure overboard, believing it would save them. Others fought to save the cargo, resulting in violent conflicts that left more blood staining the golden objects. The few ships that eventually reached Spanish ports arrived months late, heavily damaged, with half their crews dead or insane. Those who survived told tales that officials dismissed as sea madness brought on by hardship and isolation. Fifth, legacy of the cursed gold and empire's fall. The treasure that reached Spain brought celebration at first, funding new conquests and enriching the royal treasury. But soon, patterns emerged that troubled even the most skeptical observers in the Spanish court. Families who received golden objects from the Americas reported strange misfortunes within months of the treasure's arrival. Children fell ill with unexplained ailments. Businesses failed mysteriously, and accidents claimed lives in unusual circumstances. The Spanish royal treasury, despite the influx of American gold, found itself perpetually in debt and financial crisis. Wars drained resources faster than treasure ships could supply them, and inflation devastated the economy. Ships continued to vanish on the return journey from the Americas, far more than typical maritime disasters could explain. Insurance companies began charging higher premiums for vessels carrying gold, citing unusual loss rates and unexplained catastrophes. Museums and churches that housed artifacts taken from indigenous temples reported paranormal activities. Guards spoke of moving shadows, objects shifting positions overnight, and cold spots near displays of American gold. The Spanish Empire, once mighty and seemingly invincible, began its long decline from global dominance. Historians cite economic and political factors, but some noted that the decline followed the great conquests of golden lands. Conquistadors who returned to Spain wealthy often died young or fell into madness, their fortunes squandered on failed ventures. Their descendants reported family curses, believing that the sins of their ancestors haunted subsequent generations. In the Americas, indigenous peoples carefully preserved the oral histories of the conquered gold and the curses pronounced upon it. Shamans passed down stories of spiritual warriors who followed the stolen treasures across the ocean to exact cosmic justice. Modern archaeologists who excavate Spanish shipwrecks carrying American gold report unusual equipment failures and accidents. Some refuse to work on certain sites, claiming the atmosphere feels wrong in ways they cannot scientifically explain. The lesson of the cursed gold echoes through history as a reminder of the price of greed and cultural desecration. What the Spanish saw as treasure represented the sacred heart of civilizations, and its theft left wounds that never healed. The story of the cursed gold from the Americas reveals more than just historical events and maritime disasters. It speaks to the consequences of conquest, the violation of sacred spaces, and the weight of cultural destruction. Whether one believes in supernatural curses or sees these events as historical coincidence, the impact remains undeniable. The Spanish Empire's glory was built on stolen treasures, and its decline followed the same path as the gold's arrival. Thank you for joining us on this journey through pages from history. If this story captivated you, please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to our channel. We bring you history's most fascinating tales, uncovering the truths hidden in the shadows of the past. Until our next journey through time, remember that some treasures carry weights beyond their measure in gold.